Hey guys, my name is Grim. Today I'm going to talk about Vampire and Werewolf in the Somerset patch, and especially as it pertains to Stamina Nightblade. Now, the short answer is I don't like Vampire for Stamblade. I don't think anyone should run Vampire. And Werewolf is great in certain situations, but it's very low investment, and what you get is a moderate return. But it's worthwhile, and I'll show you what I mean. But let's start with Vampire. Why would you want to be a Vampire? Well, you get the passives at all times, since you're a Vampire permanently, unlike a Werewolf where you have to transform. So the first passive that you get is Supernatural Recovery, and that increases your Magicka and Stamina recovery by 10%. So that's great, that's a good passive. The next passive is Undeath, reduces the damage dealt to you when you fall below 50% health, up to 33% mitigation. So this on paper sounds like a lot, but in practice it's really not that helpful, and I struggle to say that I can feel the difference compared to how much extra damage you take from fire, which is 25% increased flame damage to yourself. But let's talk about it. So you get up to 33% when under 50% health. Let's say you have 25,000 health as a Stamblade, which is optimistic generally these days. But if you did have 25,000 health, then you wouldn't start seeing any effects until you were under 12,500. Now, they scale in a linear curve, which means that at 50% health, you will see no benefit at all, and you won't see 33% benefit until you're at 0% health. So basically, you'll never see that kind of benefit. It also means that by the time that you get 11% damage reduction, you only have 8,000-ish health left if you're running 25,000 health. So that's pretty abysmal. That's not very great. And by the time you're that low anyways, you're generally speaking one hit away from execute range or in execute range. And if you're in execute range and getting executed, you're going to die anyways. That 30% is hardly going to make a difference when attacks are doing an extra 300% damage to you. And again, of course, that scales too, but generally speaking, I don't find that this is as worthwhile a passive as people say it is, and it's not going to really offset the enormous amount of damage that you're going to take from Dawnbreakers and Fire, especially as a low health build. It might work if you're running 30, 40, 50k health, but anywhere between 20 to 26k health, I really don't think that it makes a noticeable difference. And you're still going to die because of vampirism more often than Undeath is going to save you. So that's my 2 cents on that. The next passive is Dark Stalker, which is a reason that a lot of Nightblades choose to be a vampire. It decreases the movement speed penalty while sneaking by 50%. So does this actually do anything really useful? I don't think so. But I play a brawly build. When I am in stealth, it's because I'm cloaked, and you don't get a movement speed penalty for being cloaked anyways. So the amount of times that I'm crouched and walking around is close to none. And I used to run a vampire, and since dropping it, I have not noticed or missed that passive very much at all. It just doesn't fit in well with my playstyle. People who use it tend to be bow gankers, which, I mean, more power to you, but that's not what I do, and I don't really notice a huge gain from that passive. So what's there to lose then? Well, two things. The first one, which is a biggie, is an extra an extra 25% increased flame damage to you. Now that's really big. Take this for instance. If you were to put a flame glyph on a jewelry piece, that would only mitigate 5% of incoming fire damage, and this increases the damage taken by fire by 25%. Now, if this was ice damage, everyone would laugh it off and be like, yeah, whatever, bro. But 25% fire damage? There is so much fire damage in this game. Everyone runs a Destro staff to get the increase to direct damage, which is a very big increase. Magicka DKs have almost exclusively fire abilities. Sort combos feature meteors very often, which is a fire ability that hits really, really hard. So many of the ultimates are going to just tear you apart You also take increased damage from fighter skilled abilities because you are undead, and in particular, that means Dawnbreaker. And Dawnbreaker is run by every stamina class that's not a Nightblade, pretty much runs Dawnbreaker because it's such an effective ultimate. So you're going to take a lot of increased damage. A lot. And really, that reason alone would be enough to not run Vampire. But it gets a little worse. Your health recovery is dropped by 75%, and that is a massive amount of health recovery to lose, especially because this patch, healing is so important. It is your primary form of mitigation because mitigation, raw mitigation, doesn't really cut it anymore. You have slows, you have all sorts of oblivion damage, you have unblockable combos from Sork. You need to be able to heal. You can't just mitigate damage. And the main way that stamina builds do that now is using Troll King, which increases your health recovery by a flat roughly 1000%. If you lose 75% of that benefit, then Troll King is useless. Now, keep in mind, Troll King can also heal your allies, which means if you're a vampire and your friend is running Troll King, you won't benefit from that where otherwise you would have. You could have one person running Troll King in a group, and he can Troll King proc on everybody in the group, and you'll all benefit from Troll King except for the vampires, who are going to lose 75% of its effect, and that is a lot. So those are all the reasons that I don't run Vampire. You take a lot more damage, and you don't heal. You don't heal nearly as much, and that sucks. I don't think that's worth the recovery, especially when we get so many other multiplicative boosts to Magicka and stamina recovery, and I don't really feel like I've lost anything by dropping those traits. Now, Werewolf. Werewolf is great because you don't really give anything up just to be a werewolf. You don't see any of the passives until you transform into a werewolf. And the reason that I'm a werewolf, primarily, is this little guy right here. Just having it slotted, you increase your stamina recovery by 15%. Now, this may not seem like a lot, but as a Nightblade, you actually build a decent amount of recovery, which means that 15% is roughly 200 recovery. So if we look at our stats here, this is unbuffed. We have 2,100. We'll hit our Relentless Focus. Now we have 2,300, and with Relentless Focus on our back bar, we have 2,500. We go from 2,305 to 2,499. That's a 200-point jump. That's a huge amount of recovery just for having this slotted on your back bar. It gets even crazier when you start counting in other things, and you can stack so many stamina recovery passives, and having Werewolf be among those really just kicks it up to the next level. And the biggest thing is all you have to give up is an ultimate slot. Of course, there are other ultimates that you're giving up, but the great thing is, if you decide you don't want to run Werewolf, you can just run something else. If you feel like running Psijic Order for a bit, because you don't feel like the stamina recovery is really necessary, say you're running in a group of 3 or 4, you won't need as much stamina recovery because you've got other people for you. You can run this, and if you've got it morphed, you can get the 8% damage reduction from Minor Protection. And there are several other things you could run as well. You could run Poor Man Ultimate Healing Ult Soul Siphon, which heals you and all your allies, and the range is now 28 meters, so that's really big. Well, the radius, sorry, not the range. So there are a lot of good options, of course, but you don't lose anything by being a werewolf. None of these passives hurt you just by having them, and so the only thing is gain. You gain by putting on your back bar, and you don't lose anything when you don't do that. One more thing I want to mention before we move on to gameplay footage. There are a few situations where I think vampirism is beneficial, but generally it's Magicka classes, and the reason is Mist Form. So really the only time I ever recommend being a vampire is when it's absolutely necessary, and it tends to be necessary when you have no other way to break snares, because snares are very deadly. They will hold you down, and people will pile you. So Mist Form is a very effective way to not only mitigate damage, but to break snares and get your mobility back. you can see this is my friend King Rush's gameplay, and he is very survivable, but one of the big aspects of his survivability is the ability to kite, and since he's always blocking while he's moving, he can't do that without Mistform, which mitigates the same damage as if he was blocking, while also allowing him to navigate the battlefield even while snared, because it breaks snares. So that's one thing to keep in mind, and it's pretty much the only situation where I think vampirism really shines. And now onto some gameplay. My buddy's been downed and I'm going to try and pick him up, but there are a few people guarding his body, of course, so try and take this guy out really quick. Oh, get it, but there are more here than I thought. One came out of stealth to incap me, so I'm going to take off here. Port around to distract him. Yep, they got the res and everything, so I'm going to leave here and come back when it's cooler. Hopefully it's a little cooler now, but there's one, so we'll see if we can take him out really quickly too. We have an incap up, and I get incap from stealth again. Great. So now I'm going to kite some rocks. One thing that newer players have a hard time with is following you around rocks in line of sight, so we'll use that to our advantage. I just got Rune Cage there, but it didn't do anything to me, so just be careful when you're using your CCs that you can actually get something done with it, because that guy had no plan, and neither does this guy. I get CC'd there, and now I just have immunity, so I can use that immunity to take him out, which I do. Got it to go. Gonna keep cutting the rock. Now I have to watch his body so they don't res. This guy looks really baffled, doesn't quite know what's going on, so I got incapped. Gotta recover a little bit. Get my healing up. Now this guy casts a meteor, so he thinks he's safe, but I block cast my ult, and I'm able to execute him right after and take hardly any damage. And the last guy runs away. So here's the in-game reaction. Did you run away?
He's probably just waiting for you to res me.
Bring it on. So we get the res, and now we're heading on to the next part of the battle, which is going to be this well. I love getting these wells because they last for a long time and they give you a decent health boost. And alas, here he is. Now, this guy we've been fighting for a little bit, and we know that he's wearing Shield Breaker, which is really annoying if you're a Sork. That's what killed Zach the first time. So I'm going to try and focus him, but he vanishes, and he's got a pretty high health pool. Now that we don't know how many there are, we're going to get some space. Looks like there's 3 of them. This guy is trying to keep me out of stealth using his AoEs, which is a little annoying. I'm going to help Zach here. This guy focuses him too hard, so he goes down. Got to keep strafing. I don't mind being out of stealth, but once again, people keep hitting me with stuns that don't really hurt, so when that guy incapped me, I didn't get knocked over. It's good to go. Wasted stun. Oh, don't run. Don't run, buddy. I'm trying to chase these guys so they can't heal up, but it's looking like they might be able to. Zach finishes with his guy and comes back in for the support, and the rest of them run away. There's that Sork over there. He's a new guy, but we're going to call this a day. We're going to take off from here. I don't think we have anything to gain here. Hold on. I got this.
Yep.
Okay, maybe I don't got this. Nope, I don't got this.
Nope. I'll kill this guy.
Hey! I managed to untransform.
You transformed.
I sure did. You've probably gathered that I don't transform very often. In fact, I don't even have Werewolf morphed. But now I get to have a duel with this guy, and luckily I heal much, much better in human form. You'll notice the difference between when he leaped me as a werewolf to when he leaped me now. My healing covers so much damage. So that's great. I also get Shadow Barrier, which is really helpful for this. You'll notice that even in a Fire v me duel, and again I'm a werewolf, not a vampire, but my health stays really, really high during this entire fight, even though he has incredible pressure. And so the Undeath passive would not help me hardly at all here. In fact, it wouldn't proc at all. In an ideal world, I'll never have even close to 50% health because I'm healing constantly. And that's kind of my goal in most fights because you never know when someone else is going to show up. If I'm under 50% health, I'm going to try and actively heal and go on the defense. You see I've now killed this guy, but unfortunately it's just as Zack dies, because he's getting focused by two different sorks. But luckily, they had to burn a lot of their resources fighting him, so I'm going to be able to take them out pretty quickly. I pop a crit pot to increase my damage. Doesn't work against shields, but once those shields are down, I need to get the kill. So take this guy really quickly. He's gone. And now it's just me and one other Sork, and he's not bad, but I don't think he's prepared for what I have going on, and he's probably still low on resources. He's just dodged twice, so I'm going to try and CC him. He CCs me, but that's fine. I'm going to try and get stamina back. He's streaking away, but that costs so much magicka, so I figure he's probably low on everything right now. So I'm going to jump in, do my combo, does a lot of damage. There's still poison injection on him, and he's gone.
Res me! Thanks.
Okay, let me get this one.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Heyo, thanks for sitting through another really long video. I appreciate it. Once again, if you have any questions about Vampire or Werewolf, leave a comment and I will be answering every question that I get. I've really appreciated all the engagement and the conversation that's been going on. It's been really enjoyable for me. So if you have any questions, I will do my best to answer them or to make a video about them. I'm also going to link King Rush's video in the description. You should check him out. He's a great Magicka DK and he's a lot of fun to watch. So with that, I hope you guys have a great day and I will catch you in the next one. Pull out a bigger gun.
Grim, I don't understand.
It's a metaphor.
No,
it's
no,
like,
no,
it's Indiana
no.
Jones.
My crit resist is 1.5k now, but I have 5 pieces of ammo.
Oh boy. Oh, sucks to suck. One shot, my friend. One shot. That was so good.